Hey, what's up, guys? Not sure I need these. Oh man, what a week. Ah! What a week it's been. What should I share? What should we talk about today? Well, great news. I go look at our website where we are right this second. Load that up. Way cool. So right now we're sitting at, which is an amazing. So we've reached our weekly goal of $1,580, which is fantastic. Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you to the list of all the contributors that have backed this campaign, anonymous and otherwise. Certainly this project won't happen without you, and I can't say it enough, just how grateful I am for you guys, and I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you and your energy, your enthusiasm, and just wow, it's so cool because this past week has been a bit of a whirlwind for me and our family. Little league and all those sort of things has gotten started, and we're running all over the place, and dentist appointments and traveling across state lines and to get to these dentists. So it's been a whirlwind. But I think, with all that, like our focus is just sometimes it's hard to lose. It's hard to. It's easy to lose focus. It's easy to lose focus in terms of where you're going, what you're trying to do, getting bogged down by everything. And it's easy to basically just get lost. And have to, yes, R2D2 for life. Thank you for contributing. I saw your stuff, and I know you're a cooler dude than you think. That's the thing, is that we're all a bunch of us nerds, weirdos. We're all that. We're all a bunch of weirdos and goofballs, but we're excited and passionate about the life and opportunity we've been given, and absolutely hashtag coffee time. So, but it's amazing to work through some of these things, and our sometimes when we lose focus, I just want to say that it's a lot of times it's just the little things. It's just paying attention to and having gratitude through all the little things that take place in our lives that make things happen on a day-to-day basis. That's definitely been this week for me. And I think the other thing is one thing we need to all do better. And this is not me preaching, but this is me telling myself, really, in reality. But that learning from others' mistakes. Doing my best to continue to grow and evolve and keep working on my art skills and craft and just development of, I suppose, what I was just saying earlier. I think that was just pretty much it. That it's more than just the crowdfund. It's more than just, we sit in a time where things are so incredibly divisive that it's crazy. You can't get on the any of the social media these days and not just go, what in the world is happening? It's easy to get bogged down in like the gas pipeline, Colonial Pipeline being shut down. It's easy to get caught up in all the goofballness and nonsense. And that's where I keep coming back to the importance of finding ways. And I know, like, this internet thing isn't exactly perfect. And I'm sure there's many other ways, but this is ultimately with the dream of what I want to do is find ways to directly connect with you guys. And that's what this project is all about. That's what projects that I have kind of lined up and the future is all about. And that's most certainly and definitely the direction that I want to head, and that I hope we can ultimately, share, even though we're a small group of individuals. And it's the message that nothing is impossible. That's why I love like stories like Lord of the Rings, or some of these stories of the impossible and the smallest individual changing the course of history. That those things are so incredibly exciting to me. Kind of curious what this army of did you get if you guys kind of jumped on the live stream today? Well, lack of a live stream. It was, what was that? With the Army of Darkness, where they premiered the first 15 minutes, which is basically all it was basically just the credits of who's in the, which, it's good marketing, I suppose. I don't know. I'd be curious what you guys thought about the Army of Darkness sort of thing. Army of Darkness. That's Ash, the real Army of Darkness. No, with that's just pillow talk, baby. Classic movie. What? No, Army of Dead, where they took over Las Vegas or some sort of thing. It was a government experiment. I mean, I can't imagine what our government, let alone like China, what they're doing, like making these super soldiers. That's going to go out real well. Like, it's going to work really well. Promise you. Who knows? We'll see. But I don't know. I thought I'm kind of curious. I look forward to kind of watching it. I guess it's not this weekend, but next weekend. But then again, I'm not a fan of Netflix. So it's just like, we left Netflix a long time ago. And so I'm in this quandary of how do we do that? But in any case, we'll worry about that next week and see where we get to there. But I don't know. Zombie movies, there's a dime a dozen, and I don't know, put a bank heist behind it and let's see what happens. I don't know. Our form of entertainment has really been diminished. Just over the who was it? I watched a YouTube video from the Drinkers. And he does kind of these opinion pieces and just on how current entertainment's going and what's happening. And he did one recently on the Game of Thrones disaster. And it brings the point that you never, well, just like the song from the Army of Dead, you never count your hand before the dealing's done, type of a thing. Like you're grateful for every moment that you have, and you push through as hard and as best as humanly possible as you can, and the rest is the rest. And you just never count the quality of your hand, a good hand, or like from the Army of Dead gambling point of view, you never know what a good hand could end up losing completely. And it's just from that theme song that they play on the trailer. And I think that's just the thing where like this Dan and Dave guy, man, they with Game of Thrones, they were counting their eggs and counting their chickens and all their sort of stuff before they were remotely hatched. And well, the whole Star Wars thing kind of fell apart, which is, I'm sad about that. We don't talk about it much in our house because our youngest one, she sure likes Rey, and well, I do too. I want to like her, but I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think about that too. But I don't know. I think it's about going back, and this is why we're like the Lord of the Rings was such a masterpiece, and it doesn't replace the books by any stretch of it, but just it was such a masterpiece of adapting one thing to another, and certainly the difficulties of being able to adapt different projects to be able to do that is incredibly difficult. But just my whole point about bringing all this up is that characters, well, let's say it this way. We all make mistakes. We're all human. There's a billion things that I've said in this life that I wish I could take back, type of a thing. And we're all fallible. And the just these characters that just they don't have any character arc. They don't go through sort of any kind of basic what's it named? Joseph Campbell's kind of evolution of a story arc. There's no growth. There's no sort of like, you have to go down to your deepest hell and then come out on the other side. There's none of that. And you're just this perfect human being from beginning to end of story. And it's just like, what did you learn? I feel like that's something that's massively missing. And in our current storytelling, movie, entertainment, I see this coming out of a lot of like your DC and Marvel. And I think that was one of the things when they brought back Luke into the Mandalorian. It was like a huge moment. We were sitting there watching it, and it was just like, oh, that's got to be Luke Skywalker type of a thing. And it was, even though in the back of your mind, yeah, it's CG and all this sort of stuff, it was a huge moment. And it goes back to the fact that Luke struggled. He wasn't perfect, but he was going to go through thick and thin, no matter what it took. And he was going to do his absolute best, and make mistakes every step along the way. But he was going to do it with honor and pride and a surety that he was going to do his best to accomplish his destiny, type of a thing. So that's something that's been lost in the art of storytelling these days. And, a lot of that, I think, has to do with the cancel culture, just kind of the other parts of the nonsense. But anyway, that's kind of been on my mind this past week. And just which brings it back to the fact of why I think it's so important to do, why we went the path that we went on to do the crowdfunding that we have done in this particular way on our own particular website and on our own platform. And, you certainly miss out on the algorithms and all those types of things. But in the end, we are the algorithm. We, the fans, us, the connection, the ones that are passionate, I think, as it's been called, the fandom menace or comics gate or all these other things. We are that heartbeat. And even though, I'm full of mistakes and we all are, that we find ways to overcome and build each other up. That's what this is about. That's what I would have to say The Last Colony is about too. But I thought along those lines, so I've been holding off on this, but I thought now would be sort of a good time to discuss this. So let me see here. Would there be a good way of doing this? Ooh, not sure. I'm going to bring up the cover here of The Last Colony. I was going to talk about the characters. Just a brief second. Kind of share a little bit about that. Hopefully I can do. One second here. Here we go. All right, I gotta share this screen. Okay. So here we have it. And on our bottom with the cowboy looking hat, the Indiana Jones hat. I always wanted one of those. When I was a little kid. I always wanted, would this be better? Yeah, this looks a little better. So I always wanted, were any of you guys this way? Where like you're always going to like the secondhand shop or some sort of thing. You're like, man, I want that Indiana Jones hat. I want to find the perfect Indiana Jones hat. Where's that hat? Maybe there's a homage to that. I don't know. But so yeah, so this character right here is Abram. And Abram is kind of he's the rock of the group. He's the one that holds everybody together. He's the one that is very determined. He's quiet, but he is very assured, and he can handle himself quite well in any given situation. He is also one that has had previous, as you can see, his little jersey here, a little bit of military experience behind him and in a previous life, but now he's kind of he's the rock of the group. He's the one that says, wind's blowing this way, we're going this way. But he's also the quiet one. So when he speaks and says something, or he moves in a particular way, you better well follow him. So that's Abram. So and he's the compass of the group. He's the guiding force. He is the you're assured direction that whether you are headed in the right direction or not. He'll let you know. His brother, on the other hand, over here, is Cobb. And Cobb, he's a bit of a heart character, and he has a persona very much like his brother, but he's a little bit bigger. He's the younger one, a little bigger, but he's the one that has, again, he's more of the heart character. He's the one that's connected to the heart, and that you never quite want to forget the fact that, I think that goes to, I guess, to life just in general too, that we have to have heart connections with each other, with our communities, with those around us. And we have to have just sort of a way of staying well connected. He's the community baseline. And I'll put this up here too. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I can share about that too. Let me do this little character thing first. And I'll put this question back up here to R2D2. So that's Cobb, and then we have on the other hand, and he also kind of followed in his brother's footsteps as well, as far as the military experience. Then we have Cobb back here, who's kind of our previous law enforcement buddy, and Jamie back here he has, and I think one of the things about him is that he kind of likes to take control of the situation. He doesn't like to, how should I say it, sit back and let things happen. He will definitely say, well, we're not looking at the right way. We need to be heading in this particular direction. I'm leaving pieces out. But basically he's the one that he is kind of a counterpart in a way to Abram, but he's also the one that he's kind of an in-between, sort of a heart and a head person. He is definitely he's the passion of the group. He is the one that will argue with you if you are not heading in the particular direction you should. Or Abram, he'll just kind of like, well, you're not heading that way? Fine. I'm going this way anyway. Leave you behind. But Jamie's kind of the character that will he'll give you a chance, but he'll argue his way through it. And then we have Gwen right here in our centerpiece, and she is the fire of the group. Ultimately, the story in this first part of this series, which just almost answers your question, is basically the first part of this series is really just a introduction of these characters. And then really there's going to be this one part issue, which is really the first chapter of the entire series. And then what I want to do is have this come out as an entire graphic novel. Kind of the reasons behind that is that we want to do it as a way so that we want to see, first and foremost, and we're currently on pace, which is fantastic news, to be able to do this as a full funded graphic novel of about your 100 pages thereabouts. We haven't finished that part quite yet, but basically a full graphic novel. And we wanted to put this in as kind of a way to say, hey, here's this book, here's this intro, and then use that as a platform or a jumping off point, or what's that, springboard off into the next part of that whole book, which would be the whole graphic novel. So really, we wanted to do it as one big piece originally, but we decided to go this direction again to just gain a following behind it. Again, since printing a graphic novel is considerably more expensive, and we didn't want to make the book so incredibly expensive that people wouldn't necessarily be able to back it, but we want to be kind of in that, as far as that $25-$30 range-ish, if you will, as far as backing it. So anyway, that was just kind of more of a business decision, because this actually being my first campaign, not my first comic book, but my first real crowdfunding campaign. And so with that, which is why ultimately we set up the email list and gained over 300 emails. And so we felt like we could address this, and we felt like we could do this as a starting point that ultimately jumps to the final work of that. But yeah, absolutely, R2D2, you're very much welcome. Appreciate you too, because I think and I don't know, we just thought that was the best way of doing it, even though what we'll do in the book, we'll want to do it. What was some of those others? I was thinking, it's a terrible book. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to go grab it. It was a Batwoman book. I thought that story was terrible. Let me say it that way. I love the art. It was the art. Some of the covers were done by Adam Hughes. Amazing artist, absolutely amazing. Love his work. Huge fan of his work. And what we want to do is ultimately each chapter will kind of have its own cover, if you will. We thought that would be pretty cool. And then from there, again, ultimately into a full graphic novel. So yeah, absolutely. And that was just, so one of the things about that is that Gwen is her own person, and she is her own individual. But at the same time, you can take that to a fault, that again, each one of these characters has their own, failures and that sort of thing. Like Abram, yeah, if he's going to head in this direction and you're going to follow him or not. And the sad thing is, people get left behind, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Or you have like Jamie in cases where he lets his enthusiasm and his excitement sometimes get the best of him, and that which puts him in situations that wouldn't necessarily be, not necessarily compromising, that's not necessarily the word, but it would put him in a situation where he wouldn't necessarily be able to, get out of, per se. And then he could be caught in a situation where he just, again, I'm dancing around the plot line here, but or the story, but he wouldn't be able to get out of a situation because he's letting his emotion get in the way. And I think, I don't know if anyone experienced that over this past year. But Gwen, she is the character that in a lot of ways this story is focused in on her in many respects, but at the same time, it is from the point of view that she is, even though there's aspects of each one of us, if you will, in each one of these characters, she's the one that is not only, I wouldn't say, oh, that's Abram, more the compass. She's very determined. I think that was what I said earlier. She's very determined. She is not going to let anybody get in her way of either her goals or her ultimate path that she envisions that she's on, and ultimate path of which ultimately, if you take that to the nth degree, where you eventually let's say revenge get in the way, and you let something get in the way so much that you lose focus of really where you're headed and why you're headed in that direction. And that would have to also embody the last character, which I won't mention his name, but we'll call him Captain for right now. And Captain is essentially, he is the one that he's a bit of an idealist. He views, and you can see that he's not even looking at the camera, where, he's sort of Abrams looking down in more introspective, sort of thought provoking, where our captain in the background, he's very focused, also in the military. He's currently in the military. And in this first part, well, I'm not going to share that yet. And really just as a way to ultimately, he is the one that, how do I say this? I don't want to give stuff away. He is the one that is essentially, like I said, very determined. You have to wait. And certainly with the plot line, as you've read on our screen or whatever that is on, if you go to our patron side, all that content is there as far as the plot line and the story synopsis, all that sort of stuff. But either of these characters, so you basically have, which I think it is actually in one of our slides on our crowdfunding page, is you have Jamie, Abram, and Cobb. They are brothers in arms. They pretty much wherever one goes, the other is going to go. They have been through thick and thin, and they're going to see a job through, even to the cost of their own lives. And so they definitely embody that. And basically what this story is where all of these characters that you see currently on the cover is where they will find a way to come together. And then in the end, there's some things that happen that will ultimately tear them apart, and they have to determine how they're ultimately going to come reunite and come back together. And that's really what this is about. Again, like I've shared in the previous, that how far are we willing to go for the ones that we love, fall in love with, and all that. So that's really what this story is about. And I think it's been a long story coming. It's been a long time coming, a story that I have been thinking about for a very, very long time. And I certainly owe that all to, again, what the direct connections that we're creating through these crowd funds and through these other things that we're trying to do. So yeah, so that's the nutshell of it. I was trying to, I haven't quite figured it out. I wanted to play the, our song that we actually have bought it. We have the rights to be able to play that. It's actually our song on the trailer. I think that song, it really captures it quite well. So let's see here. So I thought for kind of the remainder of I was just going to make this roughly about 30 more minutes, roughly about an hour. And the other thing is, let's see here. I wanted to just hang out and draw really with you guys. Oh, did I turn off some screens? Where is it? There we are. I thought, here we go. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sold. I have affinity for yeah, for sure. No, I think that would be sort of a thing. Yeah, I'll have to look at both of these. Um, and I think there might be, with these singles issues, and it could be sort of a thing that what we do is, because like with any of these types of projects, I agree. Um, there we're like, I don't know, there's always sort of a shift, and I'm curious what you think too, but there almost seems sort of a shift to some of the like the younger, my kids are just eating up. Like you said, we're a bunch of oldies where we like the single issues, but our kids are like, man, they're eating up these graphic novels. So it's kind of obviously it's a hard line to dance. But no, I'll definitely think about that, because maybe it's sort of a thing that we do the graphic novel, and maybe we do it in a way that we could offer as one of the perks or something. It's like a different issues or the single issues. Maybe there's several different ways of doing that. No, I appreciate that, because it's, and the thing is it's not about, yes, we want to support the artists so that from, job to job that we, yes, we want to support and all that type of stuff. But and it's certainly not sort of a thing where like, maybe it just builds on each other. No, I'll have to think about that. I kind of got my wheels turning here, and no, I appreciate that, because it's sort of a thing that we certainly want to, like I said, support each other and through these things. And there's definitely how we support each other through these hard times that we're living. But it's also a way that ultimately, of maybe the single issue sort of a thing, would be a way to again connect more people. But I don't know, the kids, man, these days, I agree with you. It's hard line to follow right now as far as what we do. But no, I'll definitely think about that. Appreciate that. I don't know. What does everyone else think? I'm all for it too, because I don't I certainly don't have all the answers. Thank God, right? Thank God. Just that's a gift. Not to have all the answers. Like, geez. Yeah, especially what, like, if you're at your day job or that sort of thing, you don't want to be the guy or the gal that has all the answers, because then everyone else is just running to you when there's a problem or some sort of thing. Part of it could be, here's the other truth of it too. I was just kind of thinking that part of it could be is that one of my biggest fans, which is an amazing honor, is that my daughter, is that she wants to know the end of the story. To be honest, she wants to jump in and say what's going to happen, who's going to betray who, and is this person going to die, and that. And I'm just like, I can't tell you these things. Why are you asking me? Because stories like some major stories that have been a huge influence on me, like The Walking Dead. That's been a huge influence on me. And just that style where you really never, and I think that's one of the things why I like the Game of Thrones before it went to craziness. I say it wasn't crazy in the beginning, but I think one of the things that they lost was just characters. Well, no character was ever safe. You can never count on one particular character being like, okay, this one's going to survive and live, and you didn't feel that danger of that character dying. So she's anxious. So what I'm saying is basically she's very anxious. to get their hands on the whole story. But again, that's kind of that, like you were just saying, that's that younger generation that they want to know the whole end of it. So but I don't know. What do I mean? What do I know? Right? We were just doing our best on this crazy rock. Some brushes, so if you're curious, some brushes, like, get my camera right, like this brush is really, really loose. It's kind of nice in some cases, especially when you're trying to get more energy. Here, I'll kind of show you. So when you're getting a little bit more, I don't know if you want a different type of stroke like that, where this one is just, it's really, really hard, even though it comes to a nice point as far as a brush goes. So that was the other thing I was thinking about. It's like, where would this world be without I almost said Bob Vila, but gosh dang it, just left my mind. The Afro painter. Dang it. It's a terrible. PBS. Dang it. Here, we're gonna put a nice little tree here. Come on, help me out. Not Bob Vila. My parents manned this old house every Saturday. Goodness gracious. Bob Ross. Thank you, Bob Ross. Yes, Bob Ross. Man, what would we be doing without Bob Ross? That is the truth. YouTube would not be in existence. It's sort of like soothing to watch someone just draw and do their art, and I don't know, add stability back into the world. Hey, Bob Ross, what a guy. Well, I was just saying about Bob Ross that he changed the world 100% over his Kincaid like paintings. I don't know, just influenced the art stores. Made it possible for art stores to, like, man, anyone can make these things. I was just thinking about, like, wow, I wonder how he was just when he was like offset. He was an angry guy. No, I'm sure he was quite awesome to hang out with. How could you be angry? You have an afro like that. Oh, the other thing I was going to bring up. So, like I said, this week was pretty crazy. Over the weekend, so I am currently, and I truly believe this too. It is not, as far as like, I'm getting my MFA from Academy of Art University, and I'm very much of the opinion that MFA, as far as like an art degrees and these types of things, are not necessarily needed, and it has more to do with either the type of people that you will be working with or under, and for one, in the comic book industry, I mean, there's so many amazing artists that don't have any type of degree whatsoever, but they're just doing phenomenal stuff. And so like I said, I caveat this with like, I don't think it's remotely needed, but I am currently working on that. Now, this project is not remotely attached to my graduate study. And so actually working on another project, which we haven't decided if we want to, once that's finished, regardless of whatever happens, that and some of you have even seen it. I've posted some stuff. It's kind of a Roman story, Roman giants and that type of thing. But they, I've been taking a watercolor class right now, and man, stick in my craw. Like, just, but anyway, it's cool. It's more for the idea of that doesn't necessarily add validity. I don't like that necessarily thought behind it, because the ability to make the work and keep improving and living the life. There's so well. When I taught at the university, there were so many professors that just didn't live the life. They didn't live what they preached. Or I saw a YouTube video of like, because all this stuff is being going on Zoom, and these students are recording all these lectures and whatever, and the professor says, well, you can't plagiarize anyone else's paper, but I plagiarized this assignment from someone else word for word. And you're just like, what is happening to this world? So anyway, I don't want to be that professor. And when I was teaching, I was trying to teach business principles and those types of things. I was doing graphics design, and I felt that how much more graphics design that you can get other than a comic book page, to be able to communicate ideas and tell stories. But that's kind of where that all started. But so I've been extremely busy with some of that project, more busy than I would prefer, which has kept me away from, well, a week ago, you saw I just had this guy done, and haven't made it very far this week. As far as line making goes, I have used, what do we call it? I have used just kind of like your quill pens or your brushes. I don't know if my hand is steady enough for brush work to make the real nice stuff. And on top of it, I don't know. I just like these technical pens. I have tried the super technical pens before. Not a ugh, just so tedious. It becomes so tedious to, clean out the pins, and just over the top. I don't know if you guys have worked with some of that stuff before, but just terrible. But I have found doing this way, because a lot of times when you're bringing it in, like you see all these, you can see all the, I'm not sure you there. You can see all these sort of like these marks, well, which isn't necessarily, sort of a thing. Doesn't look the best. But one of the cool things with Photoshop is that you can bring it into Photoshop and clean it up very easily and nicely and all that stuff. So it's not very hard to do that. normally I have that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So I did have normally I play with music was what I was going to say, but per YouTube. I want to on my blog page, ElijahLoving.com. I want to put up a link. I'm sure it'll be on SoundCloud. I can do that, where I can put up some links of the music that's inspiring the last colony. Put up some of that stuff. And I do put this down because I was afraid I was rubbing up against that a little too much. Then it's still drying. No, I need to put up because I have songs like. Let me see here. I'll bring in my playlist. So I have songs like Moonriser. I don't know if you've heard that. Ivan Torrent, or like Forgotten from 13 Hours, or Last Resort for 13 Hours. Awesome movie about Benghazi. Which, what difference does it make, right? And then what else we got? Oh, Knights of Sidonia from Muse. I remember that when that came out in high school. Oh man, that's such a cool song. Song of our time. What else we got? Silver Stallion, by the Highwaymen. Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, all that sort of stuff. Oblivion, one of my favorite movies. Alien comes in. Well, anyway, if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Great movie. Anyway, those are the songs I like to listen to that have inspired. So one of the things that's hard about comic books, terribly hard, you can kind of see it here, is that some of these lines is where you don't want to create overlaps. Oh man, it's a nightmare. But really comes down to kind of your overall page design, so you don't create distractions. But sometimes it's almost just unavoidable at times, where just how you design things. And you're most welcome, sir. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out. And absolutely. And by the way, thanks for sharing all the stuff on Minds. We are on Minds, and we're on some of the other platforms. Our biggest thing is the email list. But no, I absolutely thanks for sharing, and for everybody that is partaking in this. This is much bigger than just the individual, as to me making the project. It certainly can't happen without you, but in the end, the gratitude that I feel and excitement about the possibility of how this can connect other people is incredibly awesome. So no, thank you, R2D2 for life. Really appreciate you too, man. Good to hang out. And like I said, I'm going to try to do these at least minimum once a week. Once a week. I can talk once a week, and do see if we can do a few more coming up here. But this past week was a bit off the charts. Well, that's the other hard thing. It's not necessarily tracing. You're trying to. There's some times where you just have to kind of clean up things and change things a little bit, but I worked pretty hard on these tight pencils so that really I wanted to show the whole process. I suppose that was pretty much the biggest reason why. Hard thing about these technical pens is that, and the danger that you run is that you actually, your line variation is something that has to be done a little bit more deliberate. Where like one of, your sort of your quill pens or your brush, you can really create a lot of line variation. And so this is something that with a technical pen like this, you really do have to work pretty hard at it, just to make sure that your line variation is. Another kind of interesting thing too is, especially for long straight lines like this, some people get out like a ruler or that type of thing, and really what you can do is, it's not, when you do it, it's not your wrist that when you're drawing your whole arm is really doing it. And sometimes you'll see me where you just kind of mentally, I don't know, like any kind of sport or whatever, you just kind of mentally, you see a golfer do this where they're just trying to go through the stroke and then they'll finally line the shot up. And that's essentially what you're doing. And there's no particular, I don't know, you can kind of start from, in my case, since I'm a right-handed, kind of your left, right, but you see me moving this thing all over the place. There's no one particular direction. Biggest thing is, and you can kind of see here, you want to, basically the reason why you do that is you want to avoid little smudges. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but right here, but even with ink, is that you're going to make mistakes. And so the biggest advice I can say is don't panic. Oh, the other thing that I want to talk about is I do want to bring on, and I'd be curious what you guys think and how you guys feel too, but I do want to bring on other people into these live streams. So it's not just me, but bring in kind of cool people to share the live stream with. So if you have a name or a person out there that you would like to have in these, send me a link to their stuff and see if we can set that up, because I just think it'd be really cool to hang out and do art and talk about the challenges of being an artist and all that. Challenge of making comics, just sort of you love it, but man, it's not easy. It's not easy. But we do it because we love the connections and we love the stories. You get to share and tell stories. See if I can finish this panel by the end of our live stream here. I don't know, what movies are you guys looking forward to seeing?
One movie, I think it comes out tomorrow, is what's it called?
Love, Death, and Robots. Seems like a chaos.
Too Wild. The Army of the Dead. That looks pretty cool. It's kind of the sad thing. There's not many movies. Oh, I did watch the Without Remorse. I think that's what it's called.
That Tom Clancy one on Prime.
That wasn't too shabby. That wasn't too bad. Good old Tom Clancy inspired movie. I think it did come from a book, and then it gets into the start of how another book or a series that he did, or that sort of thing. I won't go into the spoilers, but it wasn't a too bad movie.
I enjoyed that one. Ooh, Godzilla versus. Yes. Yeah, that was. A lot of these movies, you just can't think too hard. As long as you do that, yes, I agree. Godzilla versus King Kong. You just don't logically like. Man, it's just most movies these days. You just can't logically. You can't logically think about. Oh man. Does anyone ask you? You're like, can I be that one character that says, might not be a good idea? No, that wouldn't help out the plot line, I suppose. But no, Godzilla was all right. Godzilla versus King Kong, that was all right. Again, didn't think about it too hard, but yeah. Yeah, that trailer. Of course, the first one, that was pretty cool. And about the new Venom one, that breakfast that he made. Oh god. I don't know. I seen some college guys pull that off, so maybe that's not edgy enough, Mr. Venom. You need to get a little bit more wild there, sir. You're just not. That's not crazy enough. It's true. I see like just some terrible meals that, like, oh my gosh. Chaos. 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 It's like get smart chaos. What do you mean chaos? What do you mean chaos? Chaos. What is this?
What is this chaos thing? We're living through chaos right now. It's like nonstop.
Hmm. Yeah. Like one thing was about it, like how did they get it was almost made me think of Transformers, where you get these characters from all over the globe and somehow they end up in this one location. All roads lead to, in this case, Hong Kong, I guess.
think. The Stranger Things. I was trying to think of her name. Bobby something. Oh man. She's got the Stranger Things character down. There was that new trailer that came out for that. If you guys haven't seen that. Didn't give away much at all. Of course, I don't know. Some of these stories you're like, it's done.
It's done.
Stop while it's good.
Yes. Miley, Bolly, blah, blah, blah. Bobby Brown. My gosh.
Yeah, that's her. That's the one.
I don't know. Cute kid. 11. Cute kid, but
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe she'll break with a blockbuster performance one of these days.
Yes. What happened to Indy 4? Ay. That just Indy 4 or the Terminator movies, just like it.
I don't know. What do you think of the Christian Bale one? I thought one was okay.
Okay.
I didn't hate it. I didn't feel robbed.
But Indy 4, I felt robbed. I felt robbed. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. Means the world. Yeah. Love doing it. Try to do it every day. Give it my all. So, the thing of it is that I think it's with anything, it takes tons of practice. Like with ink, it feels so permanent. And you put it to paper and you're like, oh, yikes. One thing that really helps out with that, in particular in inking, is doing type pencil, doing real clean type pencil stuff. It can go a long ways to helping out. And then the other thing is that helps is see here. So I have this is just the stock that I have. It's just your Bristol board or whatever. I'll actually, you can make like inch by inch squares, and then just work on different cross hatching patterns, and it can really help towards improving and growing, all that sort of stuff. No, but aren't they going to make an Indiana Jones 5?
Oh, Disney, what's happened to you? Too many subliminal messages. Maybe that's it. Oh, the other thing that's really helpful, in particular with drawing, is Olivia's adventure, is that really looking at other artists and growing kind of your, I don't know if this is what you're asking or not, but that's where my mind's going, is looking at artists that you really like. I mean, making like a top tier, top 5 list, and finding ways to implement what they're doing and adding that to your work. That's one really fairly simple way that you can do it. Doesn't take away from the fact it still takes practice and work, and you're gonna make lots of failures and mistakes along the way, but that's how we learn.
I don't know. I kind of like this subject we're going down of bad movies that we regret seeing. It seemed like more often than not lately, but that's okay. Time and season for everything, maybe. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about the movie Tenet. I don't know if you've seen that one. Christopher Nolan movie, his Interstellar, one of my favorite movies. Awesome movie. But I don't know about you guys if you've seen it, but I walked away after I walked away from Tenet. I was like, am I walking in reverse, or by kind of tripped me out? Like, am I is my world in reverse, or is it going forward? The world we're in right now, like, is that was a little too trippy for me. I couldn't. But Interstellar, man, that's a masterpiece. I thought it was. It blew me away. Yeah, probably do it with this brush.
One of the things about inking is that you feel like, oh, am I going to destroy it? And you just kind of have to trust it. Certainly one of the fears I first was encountering when inking. You just, because once it's down, there's no going back. Well, I think the biggest thing that I would have to say, and the reason why, and I guess to make this kind of wrapping it up here, is that the importance that I think we all need to do this, just a better job at it, at supporting our artists, each other, just a little bit more, directly supporting each other, supporting the artists that, and I'm not talking about necessarily about the artists, but just supporting those around us just a little bit more, kind of your mom and pop shops. There's so many amazing creatives that out there that are making independent, be it movies, films, comics, video games out there, and finding ways to support those types of things. We've gotten such a habit of like the big Walmarts or those types of things, and somehow they're essential, but the rest of us aren't. And man, that's so far from opposite day of being not true. But so I think finding ways to support each other, and that's why I'm doing this work. That's why we're making kind of this. That's why we went on our own platform and did all that and made our own crowdfunding platform. And it's just sort of a way to any way that we can directly connect. Because if I don't know if anyone knows that, like your diamond distribution and that sort of thing has sadly hurt the comic book store. But there are groups like Altoona Comics. If you haven't checked out their stuff, I would look at their stuff. They're trying to think about printing comics and how do you go about doing that in a cheap but quality stories. So I would check out them. But definitely something is afoot and changing, and that's really exciting. Even though we live in crazy times, that there are plenty of individuals out there that are asking the questions and finding ways of how can we directly support and more economically support the artists out there and the content creators out there. Even though, yeah, we're using platforms like YouTube, and man, YouTube has their horrific issues, but like anything, we use what we have for as long as we have, and but ultimately doing our best to showcase our side of the universe, which I think is in the big picture of what the internet's really all about.
Oh yeah, so I should put that up too. So yeah, so if you want to support our crowdfund, like I said, we know times are tough right now, but I think that's only an indication that we're a signpost that we need to find ways to directly support each other, and that looks like in a very different ways. And hopefully, and like I said, I certainly don't have it all figured out, and we're all working in this together. And I'm for finding ways of lifting up other people, but at the same time, it's sort of a thing that we also need to be in a spot where we can disagree and have discussions and work things out and have different opinions. And I'm, if you, for example, if you like the latest Star Wars, that's cool. I didn't. I was kind of sad by them. I kind of an oldie in that regard, where I think that's why with the Mandalorian bringing out Luke was such a huge thing. But we need to support each other in a much more meaningful way, and that's why we're doing this. You can also go to elijahloving.com and all that'll be there too. If you go to Elijah Loving under the patron link in the top in the menu bar, you'll be able to find your way to the last colony. And like I said, it will be currently right now, the plan is to use this as a way to springboard off into a full graphic novel. Someone on this, if you look in the comments, was suggesting they like the single issues, and I don't know. Curious to see what you guys think about that. Let me know. You can. There's also a comment section in the website where you can type in some of that stuff there too. And but curious to see what you guys think about that and making these into single issues, because our original goal was to make this part one into a single issue, and then break it up into a full graphic novel next. And that was kind of our main business model right now. So this first issue, part one, and then, like I said, the full graphic novel. But from there, we would ultimately, I don't know, maybe make it into single issues and those types of things. That would be kind of a cool thing, or maybe that could be part of a perk, or who knows, first like a crowdfunding type of a thing. And then our overall plan with the crowdfund is to here in a month. So our first goal is that by this time next week, we're sitting at 3,000, which would just put us just under halfway for having the whole project funded. So that's kind of our first goal for this next coming week. And then by the end of month, sometime in the first part of June, we're looking at getting fully funded. And one of the things about that goal is that would put us in a spot where we could be able to start getting some of the stuff as far as like the shipping materials and get some of those things and pieces in place. And then we're still set to have this comic book, because I want to show the whole process, and that was part of the reason why we're doing it this way too, is that like I said,
I've said in the past that we're sitting at about 75% finished with everything. That includes the inks and all that sort of stuff. So we're quite a ways through. And I wanted to show a little bit of this process of the inking, the coloring, and just kind of be able to showcase that to you guys. And some of you enjoy that, and so it's kind of fun to share that with you guys as well. And we will send that once the crowdfund is done. We'll be done with the entire project, the lettering, all that type of stuff will all be finished. And we want to be sending that to print. I think that will be like July 5th is our due date for that. And then from there, depending on how long the printer takes, or our expectation is that, man, you got to watch these inks sometimes. I almost missed his hand. That's why you double, triple check. But basically have that done, and then by August we would have that sending that back to you guys. Having that printed off by end of August is what we would anticipate, and then sending that all off if all goes well and craziness doesn't happen. We want to just have craziness in the story. Good, crazy story. We don't want to enough of this world going crazy. And then in the fourth quarter, which is kind of our end goal for this year, is that we would hit this as a full graphic novel, and then kind of go from there. And maybe what we do is that way, one of the perks is that we could make it into sections of it in the single issues. So, and then, yeah, from there. So there we go, guys. Hope you guys have an amazing day. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out as long as you have. You guys are awesome. Good to chat with everybody, and support the project. And I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Just with again, anytime we can directly connect with each other and support one another, we definitely want to do that, and vice versa, and share that love back to you guys. So again, hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I gotta do it that way. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and have an excellent weekend. Share this far and wide. And I think that's it. You guys are awesome. We'll see you later.